can hear me okay. Can someone please confirm?
Confirmed.
Loud and clear.
Loud and clear.
Perfect.
I confirm.
Thanks so much. Awesome. Okay, thank you guys for being here today. We want to run everyone through the training to prepare you for the official transition that's going to happen on September 1st. So starting that day, you will no longer have access to Skype for business, which is why we also encourage everybody to start using Teams and become more familiar with it. Okay, so here are a couple of things that we recommend for you to do in the meantime to ensure that you're all set for the official transition. Okay, so the first thing would be sign off of Skype for business and start using Teams just so you can, familiarize yourself with it, know where to find certain things. Secondly, we recommend for you to notify any colleagues, vendors, clients that we're switching over to Teams if you see need and the fit to do so. Then third, if you have any reoccurring Skype meetings already set up for future meetings, make sure you transition those over to Teams. There's also a meeting migration service available, so we recommend for you to get in touch with IT if you want to find out how you can migrate your existing Skype meetings to Teams. Okay. Lastly, you'll see that you'll be able to do everything that you were able to do in Skype and more. So there are more features available in Teams, which is really exciting. It's more of a collaboration tool, which is really great. And then we'll also be doing some hands-on training, so you get a chance to use Teams for a bit if you haven't already. You'll see that we have an agenda here, so these are the things that we're going to go through. Now, if you have any questions, if anything is unclear, feel free to just unmute yourself, chime in and ask. If you don't feel comfortable speaking up, feel free to use the chat function. Now, depending on which version of Teams you have, you might find it at the top bar, the taskbar at the top of this window, or you might find the horizontal floating bar. If you move your mouse, that might show up there. So that's where you can find the chat tab. Okay. All right, so the goal of the training is to make sure that you're comfortable navigating Teams and are able to perform basic functions. So this is what you're going to get out of this training. And again, we're going to show you how you can have one-on-one conversations, group conversations, how to work with Teams, how to set up channels within Teams. We're going to explain later what channels are. We'll also get into some shortcuts, how you can share files for collaboration, you can have video and voice calls, presenting best practices, and troubleshooting. Natalie will also introduce you to the mobile app towards the end. Okay. Without further ado, if you have any questions, feel free to ask. And with that being said, Natalie would like to say a few words before we get into the training.
Thank you, Gia. So I just want to cover a couple of housekeeping items about the Teams training. So this training we're doing is actually going to be posted on Talent LMS. You will get credit for it. It will be listed as a required course, but you can always go back and reference it if you need to use it as a guide or what have you. Now, one thing I want to let you guys know is that Teams is a constantly evolving platform, and it's constantly being upgraded. So as we get more features in, you may see as you upgrade to different versions of Teams, which I'll talk to you about how to do that at the end to make sure you're in the latest version. You'll just notice that there are some changes within the functionality. So what we'll do is, this is basically just, as Gia said, want to give you the basics. But if we do need to do some training later on, we will actually absolutely do that. So we'll keep you guys posted. But if you do have any questions for us, feel free to just ask Gia and I. What we'll do is we'll leave some Q&A time at the end as well. So you could either ask questions where IT will be there to help as well, or you can ask questions throughout the session today. We want to make this interactive. We want to make this, hands-on. So as Gia is going to walk you through, she's got some exercises for you guys. So without further ado, I'm going to pass it back over to her, and we'll get started with the nuts and bolts.
Awesome. Thank you, Natalie. Okay, so let's dive into it. I'm going to stop sharing my my presentation, and I'm going to share my desktop with you instead, so you can see what I'm doing within Teams. Okay. All right, can everyone see my screen okay?
Not yet.
Not yet. Oh, let's see.
Okay. There it goes. We can see it.
How's it
See it
now?
now.
Yeah, now.
Perfect. Okay, actually, I need to share a different window. So what happened now is I just shared my window, but I could also share my desktop, and I would have to share my desktop just so you can see everything that I'm doing here. Okay. Here we go. Okay, I'll get started by introducing you to the vertical taskbar that's on the left side, as you can see here. And I'm going to show you various functions, and we're also going to do some basic hands-on training with you later. Okay, so if you're looking for anything in particular regarding your activity, what you can do is utilize this filter here. If you click on it, you can type something like, let's say, I remember I had a conversation with Kelly about Germany, so I'm going to type that in, and it comes up here. Okay, so that's one way for you to find, you know, either a conversation or certain reactions to a message that you had. And another way for you to utilize the same feature is by utilizing this command box that's located at the top bar here. We call it command box because you can also type in various commands like we're going to do now. I'm going to click on it, enter
I guess we check the
slash.
other microphone and see what's on the end, right?
Yeah, let's do that.
Unread.
We
I
asked
was trying to look
that
it
you
up
please,
on the
please mute
specifications,
your
but
mics,
it has
please.
like 3 different USB ports on that thing.
Okay. Let's make sure that we're perfect. Thanks, Natalie.
You're welcome.
Awesome. Okay, so going back to what I said, if you use the command box and you enter slash unread, that will show you all your unread messages, right? As you can see now, they didn't find any matches because I've read all the messages that I needed to read, so I didn't miss out on anything. But this could be really useful for you if you're stepping out for a bit and you come back and you want to see if you miss anything. That would be one way for you to look for it, okay? All right. And it's going to look the same way as my chats tab looks right now. You'll see a red circle right next to the activity bell, and it'll contain a number depending on how many things you missed. That's how you know that you missed something. Okay, now we're going to move on to the tab that's located right below the activity bell. Okay, this is where you will have your conversations. If you click on it, that will open up your chats. And as I mentioned earlier, chats can be one-on-one or in a group. So sometimes you'll want to have one-on-one conversations, and at other times you'll want to have a small group chat. And the way you start a one-on-one conversations is by doing the following. Now, the first thing we did was we entered the chats tab, right? Then you can use this pencil here that's located at this window at the top next to the filter. And one way for us to make sure that we're in the right tab is by looking at this title here. It says chat. Okay, we're going to click on the pencil. That will open up something here. I can enter the name, so I'm going to enter Natalie's name. That will now open up our conversation. Okay, so that shows our chat history. And one thing that varies from Skype is that in Skype, when you had a conversation with somebody and you closed the window, your chat history was basically removed, right? When you reopened it. In Teams, however, your chat will always be there. So you'll always be able to know what you talked about days ago. If you scroll up, you'll see your whole chat conversation. Okay. Now, if you want to have a group conversation, you basically start it the same way. You utilize this pencil here, you click on it, right? You can enter names. I'm going to enter Natalie's name and Joe today. Thanks for helping, Joe. Okay, here we go. Now you can see that we have a group conversation. And one way for me to verify that I'm talking to the right people is by looking at the top of this window. I see Joe's name and Natalie's name, and that tells me that I'm in the right chat, right? Because these are the two people that I wanted to talk to. Now, if we're talking about a specific project and we are unable to talk about it via text and we want to jump on a quick call or a video conference, all we need to do is go to the top of this window and utilize these features that are available here. The first one is video call. The one right next to it is audio. I can also share my screen with those two people, right? And if you realize that, oh, you actually need someone else's feedback on this too, we could utilize this right here, this icon. If you hover over it, it says view and add participants. Okay, if I click on it, you'll see that it will list the people that are currently in this conversation. And below it, I can add people or I can leave this conversation, right? Now, let's say I need to add somebody. I will add Kelly. Okay, now you can choose if you would like to include the chat history. If you like to include the history from the past number of days, you can choose, you can modify this here, let's say 4 days, or you can include your whole chat history. So this is pretty cool, right? You have the power to decide what the other person can see. And now you click on add, and you'll see that Kelly has been added to our chat, and it will say that at the bottom here as well. Great. Now, what I didn't mention earlier was that the text box is located at the bottom of this window. Okay, it says type a new message. I'm going to say, I'm going to welcome Kelly. Hi, Kelly. I also have the option to, Forrest Gump, okay. I have the option to format my text as well. Okay, I'm going to click on this icon at the bottom here. It's located right beneath the text box. And if you hover over it, it says format. Okay, if you're unsure what something means, if you see an icon, you don't know what it's about, just hover over it and it will say what it is. Okay, if you click on it, you'll see that it opens up some formatting options, right? Highlight it, make it bold. And there are multiple options available, right? We're not going to go through all of them because they're pretty self-explanatory, but if you go to the right side of the text box, you'll see that we have 3 dots available. And those 3 dots always mean more options. Okay, so if you click on it, you will see that you have more options available, right? You could insert a table, you could undo something, and you'll see those 3 dots throughout Teams. Basically, they're located everywhere. And if you're always, if you're curious about what they mean in a specific tab, feel free to hover over it, click on it, and see what options you have. Okay. Now you can also attach a file. You can include a GIF to get your point across, or an emoji, and that's pretty fun. Okay, now I'm going to attach a file and I'm going to ask for some feedback. Okay, I'm going to click on this, right? It says attach. I'm going to upload from my computer. It's going to load for a little bit. Okay. Now I want to send it off, so everyone that's in this chat will be able to view my attachment. They'll also be able to make changes to it. Great, now they can view that. And if you go to the top of this window, you'll see that we have the Chats tab available right next to our names and the Files tab. Okay. Now if I click on the Files tab, normally what happens, it may take a while. The file that I just shared would show up here. Okay. You could also share via this tab. So you click on that, you go through the same steps, and you upload that file. See, now it says it has already been shared. What would you like to do? Keep both, replace. I'm just going to keep both for now. All right, awesome. So what we would like for you to do is we'd like for you to do the same. We mentioned earlier it's going to be hands-on training. So the first thing that we would like for you to do is go to the search bar at the top, enter Natalie's name, and send her a quick message. And then we'll check back in with you in about 10 to 15 seconds.
Emojis encouraged.
Okay, Natalie, how are
well,
you doing?
I'm officially being bombarded, so.
Good, great, awesome. Okay, now if you're wondering how you can find a chat once you've closed the window, you want to come back to it, and if you have a lot of conversations, one way for you to find a chat with a specific person is by looking them up via the search bar at the top, right? Again, I would type in Natalie's name. That would bring up our chat conversation. Or you can scroll through your recents tab here, okay? If you scroll through it, you'll see your recent conversations. You can click on it, you can read through it, and that's another way for you to find what you're looking for. Okay. All right, so now let's imagine the following scenario. You're working on an important project and your coworker sends you a really great link that could be very useful to you, but you're really swamped right now. You don't have time to open it up and look through it right now, but you also don't want to lose that link. So a quick way for you to save a link or a message within Teams is by hovering over the message that you want to save. Okay, you'll see that that brings up reactions, emojis, and those three dots again. So we're going to click on the three dots and we're going to select save this message. Okay, now this message is saved. I can go back to it at any time. Towards the end of this training, we'll circle back to it and Natalie will show you where you can locate all your saved messages. Okay, so why don't you save the message that you sent Natalie? Could be any message really. Hover over it, click on the three dots, and then select save this message. And then towards the end of this training, we're going to show you how you can locate it. Okay. Great. All right. Now there's another option for you, and that is hiding chats. Okay. As I mentioned earlier, your chat history will always show up, but you have the option to hide a chat if you want to, or you can also mute a chat if you don't want to receive notifications. Okay. Now what I'm going to do is I had this conversation here with Joe and Kelly and Natalie. I'm going to click on it, click on the three dots, okay? And as you can see here, I have multiple options available, and one of them is mute or hide, right? If I mute it, you see the activity bell is crossed out in gray. That means I will not get any notifications for messages sent, okay? Now if I click on it again, I can unmute it, right? And I can also hide it if I don't want to see it. Okay, now it's gone. So that's one way for you to do that. Let's give you some time to do the same. Take a few seconds to click on Natalie's conversation. Select the three dots and then click on hide. Okay, now if you hid the message, right, and you want to find it again, one way for you to find that message or the conversation that you had, I'm going to hide Natalie's, I'm going to show you how you can find it again, is by using the search bar at the top again, type in the name, click on it, that will bring up our conversation again, and I'm going to go through the same steps. I'm going to hover over it, three dots, click on it, and click unhide. Okay. Now it will stay here. Okay, you see that at the top of my conversations, right, it says recent. Now, if we click on that, you can also just have them all disappear at once. Okay. All right. Now I'm going to show you your contact list. Okay, we're going to stay in the same tab. We're still in the chats tab. At the top of this window, you'll see chat. Now, if we click on this arrow here, you see that we have two options available. One is chat and the other one is contacts, okay? So now we're going to click on contacts and that will bring up my contact list. Okay, I'm going to minimize it. You can see that I have.
Sorry, this is David. I wasn't able to hide the message. I only get Marcus unread. So I'm sure
Really?
it's user error, but.
Huh, that's interesting. Did anybody else experience the same issue?
Okay, so hold on. Now I can.
Okay.
Now I can.
Great.
It was
Perfect.
odd. Sorry.
No worries. Glad it worked out. Thanks for letting us know, David.
Yep.
Okay, awesome. I'm gonna jump back into this tab here. Okay, as I mentioned, you can click on it and then you can select chat or contacts. Okay, I'm going to select contacts. Now, just so you are aware, I do have the latest version. So if you don't, you will still be able to access both tabs. They're just listed right next to each other here, I think. Okay. So for me, because they did some updates, I would have to click on this here and then select contacts. Okay, it will still be located at the top of this window here. Now you can see that I have multiple contact lists. Here we go. And if you want to add somebody to a contact list, if you already have one, all you need to do is click on the three dots again, add a contact to this group, right? You can type in someone's name, someone that you want to add. I'm going to add Joe. Click on add, and you'll see that he'll show up here. Okay. Now your contact list is always in an alphabetical order. As of now, we're not able to change that, just so you're aware, because someone brought up this question last time. But what you can do is you can create a new contact group. Okay. All you need to do is go to the top, to the bottom of this window. Select create a new contact group. You can type in the name. What can we type it? Let's see. Operations. Okay. All right, you see that came up. Now I have a new contact group called operations, and I need to go through the same steps. I need to click on the three dots, more options, add a contact to this group, and I'm going to add August. Okay, click add. Here we go. Now August is in my operations contact group. Okay, we'd like to give you a few seconds to go through the same steps. If you already have a contact group set up and you'd like to ask somebody, feel free to do that now. Or if you'd like to create a completely new contact group, you just need to go through the same steps. Okay, make sure that you are in the chats tab. Go to the bottom of this white window. Click on create a new contact group. Name it and then add someone to it. Okay, we're going to give you about 10 to 15 seconds to do that. And then we're going to move on to the next tab.
So you said under the chat window?
Yes. If you go to the top left-hand side of this window of your Teams app, you'll see the vertical taskbar. The first one is the Activity tab, and right beneath it is the Chats tab. If you click on that, now depending which version of Teams you have, you might see the same window that I have here. It says Contacts or Chat, or they're located right next to it. You see a Recent and a Contacts tab.
Okay, that's what I was seeing. Yeah. All right.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. Okay, moving on to the Teams tab. Okay, this is going to be one of the most important things you might use. I'm going to click on it, and that will show you the teams that I'm part of. Okay, you'll see that they have a title and an image that contains the initials of your team's name. Okay, and Teams is basically a collaboration space. Okay, so they're a collection of people, content, and tools surrounding different projects, outcomes within an organization. And the great thing about Teams is that you can set them up to be private, or open to anybody within your organization. Okay, if it's private, then only invited users will be able to see your team. Only they will be able to see the content and the conversations you're holding there. So that's that.
Question, can you open Teams in 2 different windows?
From different windows. You mean open Teams and have multiple windows? Open?
Like have see your presentation in one and have another one open to mess
David,
around
you can't. The best way you can do it is to run Teams through the cloud, and you can run it on that instance and then run the team client on your machine. That's the only way you can do that. You can't run 2 instances of Teams like you do with, say, Excel or Word.
Got it. Yeah, that was my question. Okay. It's hard enough to keep up here to have 2 monitors. I was just asking. Thank you.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. So what we're going to do in the training is when we do the hands-on exercises, we're going to give you about 10 to 15 seconds, to give you the chance to open up your window and go through the same steps. You always have the chance to go back and revisit, familiarize yourself. And if you have any questions, feel free to, contact Natalie and I and IT if it's more of a IT-related question. Okay. Now going back to Teams, okay, so as I said, Teams can be created to be public, open to anyone within the organization, and up to 10,000 members can join. And it's designed to bring together a group of people who work closely to get things done. You can hold conversations, you can share files and notes across Teams channels that are only visible to members of the team, okay? And that's really great, right? So let's imagine we are part of the HR team. We want to set up our own HR team. This is what we did here. You can see that it's named Human Resources. If I click on it, you will see that we only have 1 channel as of now, and it's the general one. But we could also create additional ones. One could be specifically for recruiting. The other one could be specifically for performance review planning. Another one for talent management. And that would be one way for us to, maintain an organized team where we can easily find certain files that we're looking for or work in our smaller groups. Okay. One thing to note here for project teams, they will be created automatically once a new project form has been submitted by the contracts department and approved by accounting. So please do not create a team. We need everyone to contact IT first before creating a team. So please be sure to do that. If you're thinking of creating one, please contact IT and they will be able to help you out and let you know if it's needed or if one has already been set up. Okay. Now I mentioned earlier channels, right? I said beneath Human Resources, you see the general channel. That's a channel, and they are dedicated sections within a team to keep conversations organized by specific topics or projects. You can also share files within a channel, and that's basically where conversations happen, where the work gets actually done. And we have a channel for today's training as well. Now, if we go to the bottom of this window here, you see Teams training, okay? Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on these 3 dots here, and I'm going to add a channel for our training, just for today so we can keep it organized, okay? I'm going to select Add Channel. I'm going to just add today's name. Here we go. Description, I'm going to say Test Training. And now I'm going to click Add. And everyone should be able to see this channel now. Everyone should be able to access it. Perfect, here we go. Now this is what a channel looks like, okay? You will see that at the top of this window, it contains the channel name, which I named Today's Date. Next to it, you'll see 2 tabs. One is the Posts tab, and the one right next to it is the Files tab. Okay, now posts are basically where conversations happen, right? A group conversation, because everybody that's part of this team, which is all of us, will be able to see this conversation. Okay, I'm going to type a message here. Everyone should be able to see that, and if you hit the reply button, we will be able to maintain a threaded conversation. Awesome. Hi, Terry. Perfect. All right. Now, this is how we can have a conversation, right? Everyone that's part of this team will be able to see it. Everyone will be able to chime in and share their thoughts if we were to work on a specific project. Now, right next to it, you'll see the Files tab. Okay, if we click on that, you will see that we can share files. Everyone within this team will be able to open it up, make live edits to it. We will be able to collaborate, okay? So I'm going to upload a new file. Here we go. Okay, now you'll see that we have a new tab is available here as well. If we click on that, you'll see that we can create a new folder. We can start a new document if we want to, a PowerPoint presentation or an Excel workbook. Okay, so you have the option to do that as well. Or if you already have a file and you just want others to provide you with some feedback and comments, you just use the upload function like I did, and then everyone within this team will be able to open it up and provide you with some feedback. Okay. All right, now we would like to ask everyone to do the same. Feel free to upload a picture or any non-sensitive file that you have on your computer. You can also create a new file if you'd like. And we're going to give you about 10 to 15 seconds to do the same, just so we can make sure everyone knows where to find it and how to work with Teams. Okay, I do want to make sure that everyone is on the same page. We're still in the Teams tab here. Okay, we click on that, and then we select our Teams training team, right? We're going to click on it, and that will open up our two channels, the general channel and then today's channel. Here we go. Okay, I'm gonna go to the Files tab. Perfect. All right. Great work, everyone. And I do want to mention that the Files tab is basically SharePoint integrated. So I do want to point out that any changes that you make to a file here are live. Okay, you will still be able to access your original file on your computer or your OneDrive, because uploading it here will create a copy of that file. Okay, now if you want to make sure that you have the most recent version of that specific file after everyone has made some changes to it, all you need to do is hover over the file that you would like to download. Okay, check this bubble here, and you'll see at the taskbar here at the top that you have the option to copy the link or to download it, pin it to the top if it's something that should stand out to everybody within your team. Now for this purpose, I'm just going to download it because I want to make sure that I have the same file available on my computer. Now, if anybody goes back and adds some more changes to it, you will have to go back and download it again to make sure that you have the most recent version of that file. Perfect. Okay, I think we can move on to the next tab if no one has any questions. Then we're going to go to calendar. I'm going to click on it. That will bring up my calendar. And as you can see, it's synchronized. It's up to date, right? So if you open your Outlook calendar, it will be the same view as Teams, except that some functions are not available. So if you want to schedule a meeting, you can go to the top right-hand side. You can click New Meeting. Okay, you can add a title and everything else. Same concept as Outlook. You also have the scheduling assistant available to you, which is located right next to it. Okay, right now it's just me. Okay, I can add required attendees. I'm going to add Natalie. And then I'm going to add our channel, Teams training, and today's training because it's regarding today's training. Okay, I can type in a message here if I need to, and then send it out. Now, if you want to send out a meeting invitation to 50 people, we recommend for you to use Outlook. And the reason for this is because we want to make sure that you can use some features that are not available in Teams calendar yet. So I'm just going to start a new meeting here. Let's pretend we're going to have a meeting tomorrow. I'm going to invite 50 people. And I don't want to get notifications for all those 50 people either accepting or declining my meeting invitation. So all I need to do is go to the top here, response options. Okay, I select that and I uncheck request responses, right? And if I click on it again, you'll see that it's unchecked and I will no longer receive emails for every person accepting or declining my meeting invitation. And that's a pretty cool feature that's unfortunately not available in Teams yet. So that's the reason why we recommend for everyone to schedule via Outlook. Okay. Another thing would be if you want to find out how many people have accepted or declined your meeting invitation, you click on the meeting that you scheduled via Outlook. Okay. And you can see here at the top of this window here, at the top of the title, it says 23 accepted, 2 tentatively, and 1 declined. So that will give you an idea about how many people are going to join your meeting invitation, okay? You can also click on tracking here, and that will show you who accepted and who declined if you want to have a better idea. Okay, close that now. I'm going to go back to Teams. Discard it, okay. All right, and then you'll see 2 tabs that are available right beneath it is the calls tab. If you want to call somebody, you have the speed dial option available here. You'll see that the people that are showing up here are those that are in your contact list, so you can call them if you need to. You also have the history function available here and contacts. We're not going to get into those details because it's pretty self-explanatory. And the other one that's available is the Files tab. Now, if we click on that, that will basically show you your recent files that you've worked on. Okay, you can either select recent or specifically for Microsoft Teams, so you can see what kind of files you were working on in Microsoft Teams only. Okay, all right, so with that being said, I'm going to turn it over to Natalie. She's going to introduce you to some other functions and features within Teams.
Thanks, Gia. I appreciate it. Can everybody hear me okay?
Yes.
Great. Wonderful. So in my portion, we're going to talk about how to conduct yourself on a video and audio call. We're going to talk about presenting, how to go about that. So presenting your screen or just a portion of your screen and best practices around that. We're going to talk about troubleshooting some different areas, and then we'll wrap up with talking about how to navigate the mobile app and then how to actually upgrade your Teams to the latest version. So before we get started, so I want to just show you guys a couple of different things here. So let me share my screen. Oops, okay. All right. So you're seeing all your beautiful faces here. What I may be showing a different version than what you have, and I'll talk about that here in a second. We'll get that switched. But you may see what I'm showing up here at the top on a gray floating bar in the middle of your screen. So if you do see the gray bar, just follow along with me, and you can click on each different icon as we walk through. So right now, I just want to kind of walk through each and every one. Let's start with the video and your camera and your microphone. So these are just really easy to use, and you probably already know this by now. But if you want to click your video on, you just click this button here, and let's just have everybody get a feel for it. Just turn your video on if you can. If you're presentable, and if not, you'll just know where it is. Okay, so we got a couple people great to see your faces. Awesome. Okay, so and then to click that off, just click it again and we'll turn those videos off. We won't do the same thing for microphone. I just want to show you guys where this is. I know I do have all of you muted here, but we're going to walk through what that looks like here in a second. So those are just pretty basic. The other thing I want to show you is, let's talk about, you can click on the people icon here, and that's actually what I'm showing right now. Is this will allow me to see everybody who is actually attending the call. So let's say I'm running a meeting, I want to see, I want to call on people if I'm leading the meeting, or just see whoever's involved. I can take a look at this list and it'll show me who all is in the call. So we've got quite a few people, which is great. Now, as you can see, mostly everybody is muted, which is awesome. So here's another option I want to show you. If you want to mute everyone on the call, you can come up here and click that mute all button. However, I've tried this before and sometimes you'll mute yourself out. So if you do that, you'll just have to actually manually go unmute yourself. So one thing you have to note here is you can also mute somebody who is making a lot of background noise or talking, and they may not be aware of it. So what will happen is, Gia, actually, can you pop on for a second? Let me see if I can find your name here. There you are. Can you say a couple words here? I just want to kind of show people.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. I hope you're enjoying the training today.
Yeah, so do you see how her a little blue halo goes around her profile? That's pretty much tells you who you're getting that sound from, so you can determine who to mute or who not to mute. One thing to note too is if everybody has been muted on the call, or if you have been muted, then you will need to unmute yourself. You can't do that on your end. That person has to unmute themselves, if that makes sense. So let's say if I mute Gia, for example, she's going to have to then unmute herself. That's kind of how it works. The other thing is too, to keep in mind, let's say you see the list of participants, and this is kind of where it gets confusing sometimes. But I want to talk about, let's go to show conversations here. So, and we're going to go back to the participant list in a second, and I'll show you what I'm talking about. So if you type a message into the comments box, this will actually go to everybody who is on the call. So all of you, if you've clicked on the conversations box, you should see this. Now, sometimes this gets a little bit confusing. Because what will happen is, and I'll show you, let's say if you're trying to, or if you think you're reaching out to somebody after the call, let's say if I just want to reach out to Gia and I say, hi, Gia. I am actually, this Microsoft Teams training shows up in my chat box, as Gia had pointed out earlier. So your meetings will show up in your chat box as well. You can actually reach out to everybody after the fact or during the call by accessing the actual Teams, the meeting within your chat box. What tends to happen here is some people think that they're sending a personal message, and it's actually blasted to everyone. So just be aware of who you're actually sending a message to. So let's say I'm in the Teams meeting, and if you've ever used Zoom, let's go back to show participants. Just want to show you this here real quick. So let's say I want to send, I want to send Gia a personal message. So I see that she's in the call. I just want to send her a quick note. I can click on her profile here and then click on message here. This is just a nice little shortcut. And then I can say, hey, Gia, I have a question. That way it just goes to her up here and not the entire group. So that's just something to be aware of, a couple of different ways to go about that. Are there any questions about the participant lists or the chat boxes before we move forward? Okay, let's get everybody actually just playing with the chat box. So if you would just, again, type in a message. I'm going to give you a couple of seconds to do this, to write something in the comments box. Also, if you have any questions that maybe you don't want to say out loud, you can also type them in here, and we're going to actually take note of that and add those into the FAQs that we've been sending out to you. So we'll update those and do that as well. Thanks, Kelly. All right, so everybody kind of gets the feel for it. Okay, great. Well, thank you for that. I'm going to go back to my participant list now, and I'm going to turn off the chats here for a second, but you get the idea. So let's say I want to get a poll of who all is in agreement with me or who all is not in agreement with me, or if somebody has something to say and they just want to raise your hand. Let's have everybody click on the hand raise button. Again, it will be in your gray box, floating box, or on the top here, depending on what version. Great, so we've got everybody, awesome, raising their hands, wonderful. Now, anytime you want to turn anything of one of those off, you just click to lower your hand and that will take it off. So let's have everybody do that as well. Okay, great. So pretty basic functionality. You get the hang of it, but it's really fun to kind of play with when you're using these things in meetings, and that those functions are available to you. So let's move over to the 3 dots here. So this gives you a little bit more detail when you're actually constructing a meeting here. First, I want to talk about device settings. So as you see, I actually have a headset on. And what I'd like to do is show you how this works. So it should, if you have a device that you plug in the USB, it should automatically tie to your device settings. But you always want to make sure and check, because sometimes your computer may or may not read it. But what you want to make sure of is that your audio device, your speaker, and your microphone is all connected to the right device. So as you can see here, I could either choose my PC mic or speakers, but it's actually tied to my headset. Same thing with speakers, it's got headset there, and then my microphone, my headset there. My other option is my computer. So just something to be aware of, just to make sure that you check before you jump into a meeting. So let's do the 3 dots again. Let's talk about meeting details. So this is useful information if you want to provide people who want to join in on the meeting. Let's say that they don't have access to a computer, but they want to call in manually. You can provide this information to them ahead of time. So let's say if you're working with clients, vendors, outside consultants that don't have access to Teams like we normally do, or if you know that they're on the go, you can come to the meeting details and you can actually provide them this. And actually, as you can see, so if somebody, I do want to mention that as well. So let's say, so Stacy, for instance, just joined. What will happen is if you invite outside parties and they're calling in, they will be admitted to the lobby. So actually that was perfect timing on Stacy's part. Good job. What you'll need to do is a little message will pop up as it showed. You will just click admit that person into the meeting. So it's just one extra more step. Okay, so that's the meeting details. Now I want to show you something a little bit fun. So this is kind of how you show, this is how you want to show everybody who is actually in the call. So right now we are in gallery mode. So you can see we've only got room for, 9 different people on the screen, and then we've got a list of, 29 plus people down below. Let's say I want to take a larger gallery view. I can come here and click that. Again, it doesn't give us a whole lot, but I do want to show you my favorite, which is Together Mode. And this is actually a new feature that just came out. But you can see whoever has their video on currently, we will be in a classroom setting, which is kind of nice. It's just a little fun. So if you want to turn on your video, you can see your face pop up, start waving to everybody. This is obviously my favorite, my favorite tool. So, okay, so that's kind of fun if you want to see everybody on the call. I'm going to go back to gallery mode here. All right, so call me. So this is actually interesting. Let's say, again, you have an outside party who doesn't have access to Teams, or you know somebody is working on a project. One of our employees working on a project can't access the computer. You can actually type in their number here and click call me, and that will actually dial their number directly and pull them into the meeting. So just kind of a nice little function too, if you want to reach somebody who's out in the field quickly and they don't have access to Teams. Naturally, everybody should have access to Teams once we get done today, because we'll have that downloaded in your mobile apps. But if you don't have limited, if you have limited access to internet, this is a great function to use. Okay, so let's talk about apply background effects. This is another one of my favorites. And basically what you can do is click on any of these background effects. So right now I'm using one. I can actually click on one of these and apply a different background. This is not my natural home. I wish it was, but so you get some options here. You can also add your own. I started getting creative with a couple of these, Forrest Gump here. You can apply that depending on how much fun you want to have. But we just ask that you all keep it PG, which I'm sure you know of right now. So let's talk. So that's background effects. Let's talk about turn on live captions here. So we're going to turn on live captions. Going to max out of that. Okay, sometimes it takes a second to load, but this is really helpful because what this will do is show you what the person is actually saying below. So let's say that you have a bad internet connection or you're having trouble understanding the person who is speaking. You can actually click on that and it will show you at the bottom what they're actually trying to say. To turn any of these features off, you just come over here and you click on the button again and it will turn it off. Pretty simple. You guys you won't get a recording portion, but if you do want to record your meetings, you will need to talk to IT support. So just send them a message if you do want to record any of your meetings. So that pretty much, but you guys all will have access to the focus screen as well. I can't show it because I'm actually presenting here, but if you click on the focus button, what will happen is it will get rid of all these different things. Well, actually, if I actually share content on my website, or if I share content on my screen, it will get rid of everything else and just focus on what you're showing on the screen. So that is what the focus button is. Okay, so that pretty much covers this portion here. Now let's talk about best practices. Well, first of all, let me ask a question. Are there any questions about what we just covered? Okay, I'm going to keep moving. We're going to try to get you guys out 15 after. If you have a chance to just stay on a little longer, that would be great. If not, that's fine too. We understand if you have other engagements. So just a couple of other things. I want to show you guys how to share your screen. So what you're going to do is this little button here, it looks like a square with an arrow up. That's how you actually share your screen. I'm going to show you in this picture format of how it's going to look. So you'll have a desktop, you'll have the option to share your desktop, a window, any PowerPoints that you have up, and then you've got some whiteboard as well if you want to use that as a tool. But let's say that you have a video, let's say you have a presentation, you have a video or an audio file within that presentation that you want to play for other people on the call. What you'll need to do is click this little icon here. It says include system audio. This will make sure that everybody has a chance to hear and view what you're showing in your PowerPoint or on your screen. Desktop is always a nice way of showing things, but if you don't want to show your entire desktop, the window function is really nice. You can just show the window that you have open, and if you guys play with that, you'll see that you'll have, once you open it, don't share your screen just yet because I'm sharing, but you'll see you have some options with whatever windows you have open that you can present on. And then finally, you can do PowerPoint. So what's really nice about this is if you click on PowerPoint, which I highly encourage you guys to do so if you have a presentation, instead of doing the desktop with your PowerPoint, go to PowerPoint. It works so much better, and it'll allow people to see in presenter mode with your PowerPoint. Whiteboard, it's kind of a fun little feature. You can, we won't go into too much detail. I would say just play with this and get comfortable with how to share your screen, how it works. Sometimes it's a little clunky at first, but the more practice you do, the better it'll and the easier it'll get. Okay, so let's talk about, I want to talk about a couple of troubleshooting things. So let's say that you have low bandwidth on your call. What you'll need to do is just have everybody turn off their videos. Sometimes I know the videos take up a lot of space, a lot of bandwidth. So if you are having trouble with your bandwidth, just turn your video off and see if that corrects the problem. The other thing is sometimes sometimes you'll get on a call, you'll have echoing. And what normally happens is if your phone is tied to Teams and your desktop is tied to Teams and they're close together, your phone may be causing disruption, or your tablet or whatever you use. So again, you can just take this out and see if that corrects the problem, or leave the call and restart and see if that solves your issue. So I just wanted to know, just a couple of things to keep in mind. So I do, real quick, now let's talk about the mobile app. And I just want to pull up my screen here. Okay. Can everybody see what I'm showing here? Okay, so if you have a chance, what I'd like for you to do is bring out your mobile devices if you have it next to you. We're going to go through this together. But what I'd like for you to do is go to either the App Store or Google Play, depending on which device that you have. What you're going to do is you're going to type in search, and you're going to type in Microsoft Teams. And for me, I already have it downloaded, so I'm just going to open it. And what's nice about the mobile app is you can pretty much do everything you can do on the desktop version in your mobile app. So as Gia had walked us through before, we've got the activities. You can access your chats. So as you can see, we've got Microsoft Teams training running. I can kind of join up here if I want. That's running, and then I've got my messages from all of you guys, so thank you for that. You can reach out to your contacts here, and you can see who's available. Teams, so you can scroll through any teams that you're a part of. You can access information there. So let's look at this as well. I just want to show you what you can. So this is exactly what Gia showed you before on the mobile app. We can actually access files. If you do have the Microsoft Office suite on your phone, download it on your phone, you can access Word documents you know, anything like that. So basically you can collaborate, you can do everything on Teams on the go as you can on desktop. Same thing with calendar, you can join. What I really would just encourage you guys to do is just play with this and just get a feel for it, but just make sure that you do have it downloaded so that, you know, it will also notify you if you do get messages. So that's also kind of a nice thing if you're on the go. Okay, so are there any questions about the mobile app? Anything we covered thus far? Before we move on to the last portion. And I know Gia is going to be leaving us, so we'll stay on for questions here in a little bit. I want to get you guys, I want to cover just a couple more things here. So let's go to Microsoft Teams. So as Gia had mentioned before, if you have a saved message like you did, what you would need to do is come up here to your profile picture or icon. You would need to click on that and then come down here to saved. This will actually show you your saved messages. A couple of other things I want to cover here is this will actually show you if you're presenting. You can change it to available, busy, do not disturb. You can do basically everything you did in Skype for Business here. One thing I know that people have been asking is if you're still using Skype for Business, Microsoft Office is currently tied to Skype for Business. So you will only show what you're showing in Skype for Business in Outlook. When you switch over to Teams, it will be the same thing. You will actually have this will when Skype for Business goes away, you will show this in your Outlook, and those two things will be tied coming September 1st. So just keep that in mind. The other thing I want to mention here is so if you want to set your status, so training in progress, if anybody tries to get a hold of you during this time, what will happen is it will show them this message whenever they try to message you. So this is kind of a nice feature if you're in training or if you're leading a meeting and you don't want people to bug you, you can always type in a message there. Just remember to change it afterwards. Okay, so I know this is a lot. The other thing is if you also want to change your status, I'll show you a fun little shortcut. You can come up here at the top here and do a /bar. This will give you, you can make yourself available, away, same thing. You can set that as well. So that's how that works. So basically you can do it either or. Now, last thing I want to show you guys is how to upgrade and check your latest version. As we mentioned before, Teams is constantly upgrading their features and you will see changes, but I do want to show everybody and how they can get onto the latest version, which is something that we want everybody to do. So let's have everybody follow along for this portion. If you can, go to your profile, come down to About here, and then click on Version. So this will tell me the latest version up at the top here. So I have 1.3.00.19173. It was last updated on 8/12. If you need to upgrade, it will give you a message and a button here to click to then upgrade your account. The other thing I want to show you all is I'd like to have everybody click on their settings if they go to their profile. And just make sure you can turn on the latest experience. So just make sure these two buttons are clicked on. Once they are clicked on, you should show what I have been showing on my screen. It just upgrades your experience. However, you will need to sign out of Teams and restart for it to take effect. But just make sure these two buttons are clicked on, and that'll give you the latest experiential version. Any questions on that? Okay, I know we're 5 after. We want to leave you guys time for questions. Does anybody have any questions at this point?
Hey, Natalie, this is Mike McSherry. I do have a question about the hand raising. If you're in a meeting with a bunch of people and somebody raises their hand and then asks a question or whatever, can the presenter or the organizer put that person's hand down, or do they have to do it themselves? A lot of people forget to do that and leave their hand raised.
You know what? That's a really good question. Let's give it a try here. Yeah, so you can lower somebody's hand. So let's say I'm going to lower Kelly's hand here. If you click on the 3 dots next to it, there will be a sign that says lower hand, and you can do that as well.
Can the do you have to be a presenter or an organizer, or either or? You know, the reason I ask is sometimes when you're doing like a presentation, it's hard to look at the panel, you know, especially one like this that has 40 people on it, and see what's going on. It's good to have somebody to act as a moderator. Absolutely. I highly recommend that, especially if someone is presenting, another person can moderate. I believe anybody can do it. Joe, Chris, does that sound about correct to you? If there's still
I haven't actually done it, but I can easily just experiment with it and let you guys know.
Okay, great. Any questions that you guys have today, we're taking record of and recording. We'll be putting into those FAQs, and we'll update those and send those out weekly for the next couple weeks before September 1st. So thank you for that. I had one other question. Is there a way to like download the attendee list in in some other document, notes, or Word or something? Yes, there is. Joe, do you want to take that one?
As far as downloading the attendee list, the only resource that I have is what I showed you yesterday. If you go to like a previous meeting, you'd have to search it up, and it will show up. It will show up on the latest meetings window on the left. And once you open that up, all the resources that you guys had access to and the attendees will be listed there on that left pane window.
Yes, and I'll show you guys that here. So let's say I want to pull a list from today's training. I can go back to my chats box. Let's see if I can find Microsoft Teams training. This is the problem. But, oh, there we go, up here at the top. Okay, so basically what I can do is I can come to, whoops. This will show me view and add participants here. When I get off the call, it'll be easier to show, but
right, that's correct. You'll have access to all that data.
Yeah, you'll have access to all that. The other thing you can do, and here's something that I'm personally trying to figure out as well, alongside with you guys, because I just discovered this week. But if you click on here, the 3 dots, you can actually download an attendees list here. So you can click on that. The only problem is I honestly, I don't know where it goes once it's downloaded, and I've tried that a couple times. So
yeah, I'm not sure if the actual attendees have access to that list, only the presenter.
Okay,
but I'd have to double check.
Got it. Okay, good to know. We'll look into that a little bit further.
Online.
Yeah.
Okay, I see. Yeah, we'll look into that a little bit more, but thank you for that question, and we'll will respond in the FAQs.
Is there a way of increasing the sound when you get a message, you get a ping, but I miss a lot of messages because I don't hear the ping?
That should be through your computer audio. You'll need to adjust the audio in order to hear it. So if you go to your audio, sorry about that. If you go to your computer audio by your time and date, if you click on that little speaker icon, you'll be able to increase the volume.
Great, thank you. Any other questions?
Yeah, I had a question in relation to how, like if he's like you create a channel, let's say for a specific project, and most of the time a specific project is going to have like a pretty robust SharePoint filing system.
Mm-hmm.
Is there like any cross correlation or integration that's, you know, between, I guess, a channel and a SharePoint site for a project, or vice versa?
That's a great question, Jeff. And yes, there is. It is a little bit more complex to do, and I believe IT, Ryan's group, and Joe and Chris, they're working on figuring out how to get that integrated. But what I would do is, if you want to get that integrated, just reach out to IT support. Chris, Joe, do you have anything else to add to that?
Yeah, I mean, that's something a little bit more complicated, something that can be coordinated with IT at another time. I don't think we've actually accomplished something like that or what you're asking for, but give us the details and we can figure it out.
Yeah, no, it can be done in quite a few different ways, guys. The SharePoint site we can create basically team groups that go along with the site. They're Office 365 groups. And you use that team and then create the channels under it. But it's a little past what we're doing right now, or for the training here. And then we're working on basically a flow that when SharePoint sites are created, team sites, not necessarily team sites, but teams will be created along them. And then you can add those teams, 2 teams, basically like a group. And then you add channels under it for the different parts of the project. But yes, we're working on a more like integrated solution that kind of just flows through. So you guys don't have to click around and do everything.
I guess just tied to that, where are the files fit, or not physically, obviously it's in the cloud somewhere, but where are the files located within a channel? Like, is there a filing structure behind that to find the information, or is it just stuck on the Teams interface? Like hypothetically, does a Teams channel create like some kind of SharePoint folder filing structure? Just in case you're trying to find
more than likely, if you're using a SharePoint site and that folder structure, then you would want to just kind of link them together and stay within that folder structure rather than creating another spot where you're going to kind of randomly save information, if that makes sense. So you want it all to tie back to that original SharePoint folder structure.
Yeah, exactly. I just could see it getting messy if you're sharing documents, like say on this channel, you know, hypothetically, and then you got a SharePoint site, you know, it's a mess.
Right, and you can access the SharePoint sites through Teams.
Okay.
And then when you're inside of that, you'll be in Teams accessing the SharePoint site, and when you access those files and folders, whatever changes you make, you're actually doing it on SharePoint.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that'd be awesome.
It's all connected.
Okay.
Yes, when you create a Teams team, it creates a SharePoint site as well. And then as you create the channels underneath them, it creates new SharePoint locations where those files are stored. And so ideally going forward, you know, Teams will be the kind of the central spot where you can go and you can access those files. And so, I see a point in time where SharePoint will get de-emphasized and Teams will get emphasized.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I'll stop asking questions there. That's perfect for future jobs.
That's a great questions, Jeff. Thank you for bringing those up, because I think a lot of people have the same questions. We're almost at 12:15 on my time. Is there any other lasting questions that anybody else has? If not, what I would suggest doing, if you think of something, you can come up here and just click onto the conversation bar, or you can access it in your chats after. Feel free to just send us a message or a question. We will answer them in the next email that goes out next week. So just be on the lookout for that. Thank you so much for everybody's time. We really appreciate it on a Friday. Have a great weekend, and let us know if you have any questions.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye, thank you.
guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.